Alright, hi everybody. My name is Kieran Samuk. I am a postdoc in Mohammed Noor's lab at Duke. But I'm cheating on Mohammed right now, and I'm going to talk about my PhD work that I did with Dolph Schluter at the University of British Columbia. Okay, so as we've been talking a lot in this session, speciation gene flow and speciation in general often favors ecologically mediated barriers. So these can take all kinds of different forms. The one I'm going to be focusing on today is trophic niche. So when we look at closely related species, such as sister species, we often see that they differ in trophic niche, and we see this all over in different kinds of vertebrates, fish and birds, also in all kinds of other taxa. And so three-spined sticklebacks are sort of the poster child for this, speciation by trophic niche divergence. And so here are like three sister species, pairs, that are named almost after their trophic niche. And these have evolved in parallel in different parts of the northern hemisphere. And so what's interesting about these guys is that if we look at the sort of stickleback speciation continuum, we see that trophic divergence basically occurs everywhere. So like extreme pairs tend to be less divergent than benthics and so on and so forth, all of these differ in trophic niche. So this kind of raises this interesting question: is trophic specialization an essential first step for stickleback and speciation with gene flow? However, to really get at this question, we need to look at the earliest stages of speciation, right when divergence is starting to happen. So that's what we wanted to do here. So we wanted to go out and try to find a very young stickleback species pair in the very early stages of speciation with gene flow, and then look to see if we can see this divergence in trophic characters. Okay, so where to look for such a species? So here's Nova Scotia in Canada. It's on the east coast. And this gentleman here, Max Blau, who is a fisheries biologist and also professor at St. Francis Xavier in Nova Scotia, discovered these sticklebacks in the early 90s. And so this is a bunch of filamentous algae. And the white lines there are male sticklebacks defending nests. And this here is a normal stickleback. So you can see that there's a pretty major difference in color there. And here's what they look like up close. These are both male sticklebacks. The top is the white stickleback, and the bottom is a normal marine stickleback. So these are in marine environments, not freshwater, which is a little unusual for sticklebacks. And what's kind of interesting is that back in the Alizine days, we learned that there's basically, or the early studies on these guys basically showed no genetic differences between them in Alizines. So we wanted to follow this up and sort of throw some modern genetics at this question. So during my PhD, I went out and sampled white and common sticklebacks in Nova Scotia at 12 sites where there was St. Patrick. And we did some GBS sequencing, and I'm just going to cut to the chase here and show you the PCA. So this is from 15,000 SNPs. And basically they formed two fairly discrete genotypic clusters in PC space. And this includes both males and females of both species. However, the overall genetic divergence between these guys is very low. It's 0.02. And so here's the genome scan, had to show it. So you can see that overall FST is quite low across the genome, but there are some places where it gets quite high comparatively, up to like 0.9. So just comparing that to other described stickleback species pairs, this is a cumulative plot of FST. So if we sort of orient ourselves with the other stream link pairs that have been genetics, whites and commons fall right in that first little percentile down there. So these are very, these have very low divergence, as I showed you. Sort of best fit demographic model for these guys is isolation with migration, with divergence happening between whites and commons about 15,000 generations ago, which is about 15,000 years. So these guys look like they're probably a pretty good candidate for being a very early diverse species and having gene flow between them. So next, we wanted to look for divergence in trophic characters. And so we took a two-pronged approach here. We wanted to look at morphological traits that are correlated with trophic divergence in fish. And we also wanted to look at stable isotopes. So in many different species of fish, when there is trophic divergence, it tends to occur along this benthic limnetic axis. So this is true in sticklebacks. We know that very well, but it also happens with things like lake whitefish, cichlids to some extent, all kinds of different fish. So this is fairly common and well understood axis. And there's sort of two canonical traits, at least in stickleback, for diverging along this axis, and that's the benthic, those are body depth. So deeper body means basically fatter in the vertical sense. And also gill raker number and length. And so these are, gill rakers are structures on the inside of the gills that are used for filtering out food particles. So basically, benthics have deep bodies and fewer gill rakers. Lumetics have thinner bodies and more gill rakers. That's a simplification, but so we wanted to look at both of these traits. So here's our unit stickleback. So to look at body shape, we basically use geometric morphometrics. There's these sort of classic landmarks that made stickleback studies use to study this. And when we can do multivariate statistics on these landmark data sets once we have them. And here's what it looks like. Basically, no pattern. Some principal components were pulled out, as you might expect, but there's this sort of smear, two overlapping clouds of points for white and common sticklebacks. So we're not seeing this classic divergence in body shape between these two species. So next up, we wanted to look at gill rakers, which were those structures I told you about before. Here's what they look like. This is not a stickleback. So there's basically two rows of gill rakers. There's a dorsal row and a ventral row. And what we found is basically no difference in the number of dorsal or ventral gill rakers for these guys. So no difference there either. So we were getting a little bit annoyed, and so we wanted to take the nuclear option for looking at trophic divergence and look at stable isotopes. So generally speaking, stable carbon and nitrogen stable isotopes can be used to detect fine-scale niche differences between these guys, between sticklebacks in general and all fish. So just to give you a sense of what this looks like in other stickleback species pairs, this is delta carbon for the lake stream pairs that are found around the world. And you can see they nicely sort out in lake stream differences along this carbon axis. So we looked at carbon 13 and nitrogen 15. And what we found was nothing. So again, they're forming these sort of two overlapping clouds between species. So no difference in stable isotope profile between these guys. Nothing on the scale that we're seeing with other stickleback species pairs. Okay, so just to wrap up this little part, white sticklebacks were the least divergent amphibian species. No detectable differences in trophic niche. And although it's obviously important in other stickleback species pairs, we're not seeing this trophic differentiation in these guys, and that to me implies it's not a completely necessary first step. So, if trophic divergence is not important, what traits do differ between white and common sticklebacks? So I told you about body shape, gill raker number, and stable isotopes. We looked at a suite of other traits. So we looked at spines and armor. Those differ between some stickleback species pairs. We found no difference. Body size is smaller. White sticklebacks tend to be smaller in general. And what's interesting is that the next set of traits that we looked at, pigmentation, testes weight, net substrate preference, and parental care, were all different, but only between males. Some of those are male-specific traits, obviously. But basically it seems like there's this focus on divergence on these male-biased traits. Traits that either only occur in males, or if they occur in both, only the male is different. So we wanted to follow this up and ask, is there a connection between these male-biased traits and reproductive isolation? And so what we did was, we went back to our handy-dandy genome scan, and we compiled a list of all the genes in outlier regions versus non-outlier regions. And then we used previously published data on sex-biased expression in those genes, and we basically assigned each one of those outlier and non-outlier genes a sex-biased expression score. So I should mention the sex-biased expression seems to be pretty conservative in stickleback, although it's still early days on that. And basically what we found is, so if we have all the female bias genes on the left-hand side, so those are any genes that show any female bias, and we compare the non-outliers and the outliers, we see there's no difference. Whereas for male bias genes, in general, outliers tend to be more male biased. So that kind of fits with this maybe reproductive isolation being focused on these male bias traits. So basically what our working hypothesis is here is that white sticklebacks are a sort of sexual ecotype that's instead of a trophic ecotype that are maybe maintained by ecologically mediated sexual selection. So here's kind of how we think it works. There's these sort of two niches. So we have the filamentous algae niche, and basically what we think is going on here is that some reason, mating rate is being selected over parental care. So basically here, the males are constantly courting, they're not performing any parental care, and there's this probably really high male-male competition. So this sort of favors this sexy dad ecotype, whereas in the standard sort of sand and rocks niche, where most sticklebacks live, parental care is sort of favored over mating rate, and there's lower male-male competition. So we're thinking this is the sort of good dad ecotype. So this leads to this thing that I like to call the dadscape, where basically what we think is, you know, you can think of this in trophic terms, but we basically think that maybe these two species are being maintained by ecologically mediated sexual selection acting against weird dad hybrids. All right, thanks very much for listening.
Evidence of reproductive isolation?
So we know that they mate assortatively in laboratory mating trials, although those, it wasn't super replicated in that particular study, but there does seem to be some pre-mating isolation there. And that sort of fits with a lot of sticklebacks mate assortatively based on body size, and that might be involved in that body size difference. Yeah.
What is the significance of the filamentous algae? Does it, like, it releases them from parental care somehow?
That's exactly actually what we think. So the two main functions that stickleback dads perform is aerating the eggs via fanning. So that's providing that oxygenation for the eggs. And then they also fight back predators, mostly female sticklebacks, who come to eat eggs. So we think that by maybe nesting this filamentous algae, which photosynthesizes, they're getting that bonus oxygenation and also crypsis from it being a really convoluted environment. And that sort of tips the balance away from having to perform parental care. Yep.
Is the paternal behavior of hybrid males intermediate?
So we really want to know the answer to that question really badly, and one of the goals of my PhD was to try to do a PhD on that for parental care. And we had really poor success with getting any hybrids, or getting any fish, period, from these locations established in our lab in BC. And so that's an open question, but I'd really like to know the answer to it. Yeah. So yeah, we couldn't, given that the crosses were performing so poorly, we thought that's sort of the first thing that we thought. But our pure crosses were also doing really badly, so it was kind of hard to disentangle us being bad at raising sticklebacks from intrinsic isolation.
So, tagging on the first question, have you looked at any other measures besides FST? Look at reproductive isolation, like DXY?
Yeah, so DXY looks very similar, and you can also do things like plot like the derived allele frequency, you polarize it to an outgroup, and you get very similar patterns. Yeah.
How discrete are these different environments? Like, can you find an intermediate environment that's like rocky with some filamentous algae? And then maybe pH just sort of breaks down a little bit there?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the original field work that was done on this, there's like very tight association between there being lots of filamentous algae and the white sticklebacks occurring there. They basically don't occur if there's not filamentous algae. So that was also sort of based on this ecologically mediated idea. But yeah, finding the intermediate habitat would be a nice way to look at that. All right, thanks very much.